Commander John Mitchell stared at the vast darkness through the viewport of his ship, the EDF Defiant. Small lights blinked on the control panel in front of him, casting a soft glow on his weathered face. At 45, he had spent more than half his life serving in Earth's Defense Force. The year 2157 had been peaceful so far, but something about today felt different. "Commander, sensors are picking up something near Pluto," said Officer Amy Wilson, her voice breaking the silence. "On the bridge. It's big, bigger than anything we've ever seen." Mitchell leaned forward. "Natural object or artificial?" "Definitely artificial, sir. It's moving with purpose." Mitchell's heart raced, but his voice remained calm. "Alert Earth Command. Tell them, we have a possible first contact situation. The Defiant was just a patrol vessel, tasked with monitoring the outer edges of the solar system. Humanity had spread throughout their home system, with colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan, but they had never encountered intelligent alien life. Until now. "Putting it on screen," Amy said. The main display showed a massive ship entering orbit around Pluto. It was sleek and dark, with strange glowing patterns along its hull. The alien vessel was at least 20 times the size of the Defiant. "Sir, they're broadcasting something," Communications Officer Ben Harris announced. It's in English and Mandarin and Russian. They're broadcasting in all major Earth languages simultaneously." Mitchell swallowed hard. "Let's hear it." A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. "People of Earth, we are the Zalaxian Empire. Your species will be cataloged and your resources claimed for the glory of the Emperor. Resistance is futile and illogical. Prepare for inspection and integration. You have 7 Earth days." Silence fell over the bridge. The 5 crew members exchanged worried glances. "Sir," Ben said quietly, "what do we do?" Mitchell straightened his uniform. "We follow protocol. Open a channel." After a moment, Ben nodded. "Channel open, sir." "This is Commander John Mitchell of the Earth Defense Force vessel Defiant. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization. Perhaps we could discuss." A bright flash of energy shot from the alien ship. The Defiant rocked violently as alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Direct hit to our starboard engine," shouted Engineer Paul Davis from his station. "Shields at 40%. "Evasive maneuvers," Mitchell ordered. "Get us out of their range." The Defiant veered away from Pluto, engines straining as they pushed to maximum speed. 2 more energy beams lanced out from the Zalaxian vessel, narrowly missing them. "They're pursuing, sir," Amy reported. "They're faster than us." Mitchell made a quick decision. "Plot a course through the Kuiper Belt. We'll use the debris for cover." He turned to Ben. "Send everything we've recorded back to Earth. Highest priority." The next 20 minutes were the longest of Mitchell's life. The Defiant zigzagged through the icy bodies of the Kuiper Belt, taking 2 more hits that left them limping. But finally, the pursuing ship broke off. "They've turned back toward Pluto," Amy said, relief evident in her voice. "Damage report," Mitchell ordered. Paul looked up from his console, his face grim. "We've lost 1 engine completely. Life support is stable, but our main weapons array is fried. Communications are limited to short range only." Mitchell nodded. "Set course for Earth, best possible speed. We need to warn them." 3 days later, the Defiant limped into Earth orbit. Mitchell had never been so happy to see the blue-green planet. Below, a shuttle took him directly to Defense Headquarters in Geneva, where he was immediately escorted to a crisis meeting. Director of Defense Susan Carter stood at the head of a long table. Around it sat the top military leaders and scientists of the Solar Alliance, Earth's unified government. Large screens on the walls displayed the images the Defiant had captured. "Commander Mitchell," Carter said with a nod. "Thank you for getting this information to us. Your crew performed admirably under the circumstances." Mitchell took a seat. "Thank you, Director, but I'm afraid I bring very bad news." "We know," Carter said. "The Zalaxian ship has been broadcasting its message throughout the system for the past 2 days. Every colony and outpost has received it." She gestured to the screens. "Tell us everything you observed firsthand." Mitchell detailed the encounter, describing the size and apparent capabilities of the alien vessel. They fired without provocation, he concluded. No warning, no real attempt at communication. Just a demand for submission, then attack. A gray-haired woman in a lab coat spoke up. I'm Dr. Carol Hayes, head of xenobiology. Did you observe anything about their physical appearance? No, Mitchell answered. We never saw the beings themselves. General Sam Peterson, a tall man with dark skin and a stern expression, leaned forward. In your professional opinion, Commander, what are we facing? Mitchell took a deep breath. A technologically superior force with hostile intent. Their ship was unlike anything we've developed. Their weapons cut through our shields like they were paper. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. We have 4 days left before their deadline, Carter finally said. 4 days to decide whether Earth surrenders or fights. With respect, Director, Mitchell said. I don't think they're giving us much choice. They fired on us when we attempted peaceful communication. Dr. Alan Barnes, a physicist known for his work on experimental weapons technology, stood up. Perhaps we have more options than we realize. All eyes turned to him. My team has been developing something that might help us. It's called the Helios Protocol. Go on, Carter urged. It creates temporary ruptures in spacetime, Barnes explained. Theoretically, these ruptures could penetrate any known shielding. Technology, theoretically, Peterson repeated skeptically. Has it been tested? Only in controlled conditions, Barnes admitted. But it works. And it might be our only chance. The discussion continued as experts debated Earth's options. Some argued for immediate surrender to save lives. Others insisted fighting was the only choice, even if it meant destruction. As the meeting broke up, Mitchell found himself standing beside Carter, looking at a live feed of the Zalaxian ship now in orbit around Neptune. 4 days, Mitchell said, quietly. Can we be ready in 4 days? Carter's face was grim but determined. We have to be. I'm about to brief President Summers. The final decision will be hers, but I know what she'll choose. Which is? Carter turned to face him. Humanity has never bowed to tyrants before. We won't start now. If the Empire demands our submission, Earth will answer with fire. Outside, the window, the sun was setting over the mountains. In the gathering darkness, lights began to come on across the city. Lights that the Zalaxians thought would soon be extinguished. They were wrong. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, Dr. Alan Barnes stared at his computer screen. Lines of code and complex equations filled the display. He had not slept in 36 hours. Time was a luxury they did not have. More coffee, Dr. Barnes? Alan looked up to see his assistant, Olivia Grant, holding out a steaming mug. Her eyes were as tired as his felt. Thank you, he said, taking the mug. Any word from the surface? President Summers is addressing the world in 1 hour, Olivia replied. The Zalaxian ship has moved closer. It's now orbiting Mars. Alan nodded and turned back to his screen. The Helios Protocol was his life's work. For 15 years, he had studied ways to bend the fabric of spacetime itself. The military had funded his research, hoping for a new type of faster-than-light travel. Instead, he had discovered something far more dangerous and now perhaps far more useful. His lab door slid open again. This time, Director Susan Carter walked in, followed by Commander John Mitchell. Both looked grim. Dr. Barnes, Carter said, I need good news. Alan gestured to the large prototype in the center of the lab. It resembled a cannon but with rings of strange metal and glowing blue elements surrounding the barrel. The Helios device is ready for a full-scale test, he said. But I can't promise success. We're pushing the boundaries of known physics here. Mitchell walked around the device, studying it with careful eyes. How exactly does it work? Alan took a deep breath. In simple terms, it creates a micro-tear in the fabric of space. This tear expands outward in a controlled wave. Anything caught in that wave has its atomic bonds temporarily weakened. And what does that mean for the Zalaxians? Carter asked. It means their shields, Their hull, even their weapons, all would be vulnerable for approximately 8.3 seconds after being hit by the wave. Carter and Mitchell exchanged looks. "That's our window," Mitchell said. "Hit them with the Helios, then everything we've got in those 8.3 seconds." In another part of the complex, Chief Engineer Lisa Reyes worked with her team to analyze the data from the Defiance encounter. She had been given access to all sensor readings from the brief battle. "Look at this energy pattern," she told her team, pointing to a display showing the Zalaxian ship. "There's something strange about how their power flows." Her assistant, Ethan Wright, leaned closer. "It seems to pulse, almost like a heartbeat." Lisa nodded. "Exactly. And look here. When they fire their weapons, there's a noticeable gap in the pulse." She tapped on the screen. "That's a weakness. Every time they fire, they momentarily redirect power from their shields to their weapons." "Can we exploit that?" Ethan asked. "Maybe," Lisa said. "If we could time our attacks perfectly, we might get through their defenses." She straightened up and reached for her communicator. "I need to speak with Director Carter immediately." In Geneva, the world's leaders gathered in the Solar Alliance Council chamber. The room was tense, filled with fearful whispers. On a large screen, they watched President Kate Summers prepare to address the people of Earth. The camera light turned green and Summers began. "Citizens of Earth and the colonies, today we face the greatest challenge in human history. 3 days ago, an alien vessel entered our solar system. This ship belongs to what calls itself the Zalaxian Empire, a civilization that has conquered hundreds of worlds across our galaxy." She paused, her expression firm but calm. "The Zalaxians have demanded our surrender. They have given us 7 days to prepare for what they call inspection and integration. Based on their unprovoked attack on one of our ships, we believe this means slavery for humanity." Murmurs filled the council chamber. On screens around the solar system, billions watched with dread. "I have consulted with the leaders of all nations and colonies. I have spoken with our top scientists and military experts, and I have made a decision." The room fell silent. "Humanity will not bow. We will not surrender our freedom, our dignity, or our home. If the Empire demands our submission, Earth will answer with fire." In his underground lab, Alan watched the speech on a small screen while continuing his work. When President Summers finished, he looked at his team. "Well," he said, "I guess we're really doing this." Olivia nodded. "Can we win?" Alan turned back to his device. "I don't know, but I know we can hurt them." Commander Mitchell stood on the bridge of a new ship, the EDF Vanguard. It was Earth's newest and most advanced vessel, though he knew it was still primitive compared to the Zalaxian ship. "All systems check out, Commander," said his first officer, Jack Martinez. "The Helios device has been installed in the main weapons bay." Mitchell nodded. "And our other modifications?" "Chief Engineer Reyes's timing system is online. If the Zalaxians follow the same power pattern, we'll be able to time our attacks to hit when their shields are weakest." Mitchell looked around at his crew. They were young, determined, and scared, just like him. "We're not alone out there," he told them. "Every ship in the Solar Alliance is being prepared for battle. Earth's orbital platforms are being armed. Mars and Europa have their defense systems ready." "Will it be enough?" Martinez asked quietly. "No," Mitchell replied honestly. "But we don't need to win. We just need to show them that conquering us will cost too much." The Zalaxian ship moved closer to Earth. From its surface, a smaller vessel detached and headed toward the planet. Earth's defense systems tracked it but did not fire. In a secure room beneath Geneva, Director Carter met with a small group of military leaders. On a screen, they watched the approaching craft. "They're sending an envoy," General Peterson said. "Earlier than their deadline." "They're overconfident," Carter replied. "They think we'll surrender without a fight." The alien craft entered Earth's atmosphere, heading directly for Geneva. Defense fighters escorted it, weapons ready but not engaging. "Let them come," Carter said. "Let them see our faces, let them hear our answer in person." The craft landed in a designated area outside the city. A delegation of world leaders, including President Summers, waited nearby. Security forces surrounded them, tense and alert. The alien ship's door opened with a hiss of escaping air. A tall, slender figure emerged. The Zalaxian had pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its face was almost human-like, but with large, entirely black eyes and no visible nose. It wore ornate armor that seemed to glow from within. "I am High Commander Krell of the Zalaxian Empire," it said, its voice unnaturally deep. "I have come to accept your surrender." President Summers stepped forward. "And I am President Kate Summers of the Solar Alliance. I have come to give you our answer." She looked up at the much taller alien without fear. "We decline your generous offer. Humanity chooses to remain free." Krell's expression didn't change. "Then you choose extinction. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. Your primitive technology cannot stop us." Summers smiled slightly. "Perhaps. But there's something you should know about humans, High Commander. We have a long history of fighting against impossible odds, and sometimes we win." Krell turned without another word and returned to his ship. As the alien craft took off, Carter's communicator buzzed. It was Dr. Barnes. "The test was successful," he said, his voice excited despite his exhaustion. "The Helios works, and we found a way to make it mobile." Carter closed her eyes briefly in relief. "Good, because I think we just made the Zalaxians very angry." The next 48 hours were a blur of activity across the solar system. Every shipyard from Earth to Titan worked at full capacity. Mining vessels became warships. Civilian shuttles were fitted with weapons. Earth's orbital defense platforms, once meant only as a deterrent against asteroids, now bristled with hastily installed weapons. Captain Frank Miller stood on the bridge of his small scout ship, the EDF Hawk. At 35, he had spent most of his career running security for the mining operations on Titan. Now he was about to attempt something no human had ever done: board an alien vessel. "Final checks complete, Captain," said his pilot, Diane Jordan. "Stealth. Systems are as good as they'll get." Frank nodded. "And our target?" Lieutenant Greg Owens looked up from his scanner. "One Zalaxian scout ship still holding position near Phobos. Looks like they're mapping Mars's defense grid." "Perfect," Frank said. "They're focused outward, not looking for threats from behind." Their mission was simple but dangerous. Approach the much smaller Zalaxian scout ship using the asteroid fields around Mars for cover, disable it without destroying it, and capture both the vessel and any crew aboard. Earth needed information about Zalaxian technology and biology, information that could mean the difference between survival and extinction. "Everyone clear on the plan?" Frank asked, looking at his team of 6. All were trained for space combat, but none had ever faced an alien enemy. They nodded, faces serious beneath their helmet visors. "Let's move," Frank ordered. The Hawk slipped from its hiding place behind a large asteroid and began a silent approach toward the Zalaxian scout. Their engines were running at minimal power to avoid detection, using small bursts of thrust and the natural drift of the asteroid field to carry them forward. 200 meters, Greg whispered, as if the Zalaxians might hear him through the vacuum of space. 150. 100. "Weapons ready," Frank said quietly. "Target their propulsion only." 50 meters, Greg continued. 30. 20. Fire. 2 precision energy pulses hit the Zalaxian scout at exactly the same moment. They had been carefully calibrated based on Chief Engineer Reyes's analysis of Zalaxian power systems. The alien ship's lights flickered, then dimmed. "Direct hit," Diane confirmed. "Their engines are offline." "Boarding team, go," Frank ordered. 4 members of his team launched from the Hawk, using small thrusters on their suits to cross the short distance to the disabled ship. Frank followed, leaving only Diane aboard to monitor the situation and provide emergency extraction if needed. They reached the hull of the alien vessel and attached magnetic clamps to secure themselves. Specialist Jake Rivera placed a cutting device against what they hoped was an airlock. The device began to hum, cutting through the unknown metal of the Zalaxian ship. "Stay alert," Frank warned. "We have no idea what's waiting inside." The cutting device finished its work. Jake carefully removed the circular section of hull. Beyond was darkness. Frank went first, pushing himself through the opening. The interior was dimly lit by emergency lights with a blue tint. The air was breathable according to his suit sensors, but he kept his helmet sealed just in case. 2 life forms detected, Greg reported, checking his scanner. 1 in what appears to be the control room ahead, 1 in a compartment below. Frank gestured for the team to split up. He and Jake would take the control room. The others would secure the lower compartment. The corridors of the ship were narrow, designed for beings more slender than humans. Frank and Jake moved carefully, weapons ready. They reached a sealed door that had to be the entrance to the control room. Jake placed small devices on the door's edges. Breaching charges ready. Frank nodded. 3, 2, 1. The charges made. Almost no sound. Just a soft hiss as they released a chemical that instantly weakened the door's molecular structure. Frank kicked, and the door crumbled. Inside, a single Zalaxian turned in surprise. It reached for a weapon, but Frank was faster. His stun pulse hit the alien directly in the chest. The Zalaxian convulsed once, then collapsed. Control room secure, Frank reported. 1 hostile subdued. His communicator crackled. Lower compartment secure, came the voice of Lieutenant Owens. 1 hostile captured, appears to be injured from the ship's power loss. Start downloading everything from their systems, Frank ordered. We have 10 minutes before we need to be gone. Jake moved to what appeared to be the main console and attached a device designed by Earth's best computer experts. It began breaking through the Zalaxian security systems immediately. Captain, you should see this, Jake said after a moment. His voice was tense. Frank moved to look at the console. On the screen was a map of the solar system. Red dots marked every human settlement, from the largest cities on Earth to the smallest outposts on distant moons. Next to each was a set of symbols that could only be attack priorities and methods. They've been planning this for a while, Frank said grimly. They know exactly where we are vulnerable. That's not all, Jake said. He pointed to another section of the display. This looks like communication logs with their main fleet. According to this, they're not waiting the full 7 days. They're attacking tomorrow. Frank felt cold dread settle in his stomach. Download everything. We need to warn Earth. Back on Earth, military leaders gathered once more in the underground command center. The captured Zalaxians had been placed in secure medical facilities for study. The data from their ship was being analyzed by the best minds on the planet. They use a form of collective consciousness in battle, Dr. Carol Hayes explained, showing brainwave patterns on a large screen. Their ships are linked, allowing them to act as a single unit. It gives them incredible coordination. Can we disrupt it? Director Carter asked. Possibly, Dr. Hayes replied. The connection relies on a specific frequency. If we could jam it, we'd destroy their advantage, Commander Mitchell finished. Dr. Barnes stepped forward. I might be able to modify the Helios protocol to target that frequency. It would take time, though. Time we don't have, Captain Miller said from his position at the table. According to the data we recovered, they're attacking tomorrow. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. How many ships do they have? President Summers asked. At least 50 major warships, General Peterson answered. Plus hundreds of smaller vessels. They outnumber us at least 5 to 1. And our weapons? We've equipped every ship and station with everything we have, Peterson said. But most of it is untested against their technology. President Summers stood. Then we fight with what we have. Alert all colonies and outposts. Begin evacuations of civilian populations to the emergency shelters, and launch every ship we can. As the meeting broke up, Commander Mitchell approached. Dr. Barnes, is the Helios device ready to deploy? He asked quietly. On a small scale, yes, Barnes replied. We've installed it on your ship as planned, but the larger version, the one that could affect their entire fleet at once, that needs at least another day. Mitchell nodded. Then I'll buy you that day. How? Mitchell's eyes were hard. By taking the fight to them before they can bring it to us. Later that evening, Commander Mitchell stood on the bridge of the EDF Vanguard. Around him, a fleet of 30 ships, everything Earth could muster on short notice, prepared to depart. "Sir," Jack Martinez said from his station, "the Zalaxian fleet has just been detected entering the orbit of Neptune. They'll reach Earth in 12 hours. "Then we meet them at Jupiter," Mitchell replied. "We choose the battlefield, not them." He opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Commander Mitchell. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every human who has ever lived or ever will. We are outnumbered and outgunned, but we have something the Zalaxians don't have, the desperate courage of a species fighting for its very existence." Paused, looking at the faces of his crew. "We may not all come back, but those of us who fall will do so knowing that Earth still stands. Humanity still survives. That is worth any price." The fleet moved out, heading toward the gas giants where they planned to make their stand. Behind them, Earth prepared for the worst. As the ships accelerated, a message came through from Earth Command. It was brief. "Zalaxian fleet has changed. Course, they're coming faster than expected. Estimated arrival time 3 hours." Mitchell felt his blood run cold. They had run out of time. Commander Mitchell stared at the message on his screen. 3 hours, not 12. The Zalaxians had somehow increased their speed beyond what Earth had calculated. There was no time to set up an ambush at Jupiter. No time for anything but a direct confrontation. "All ships change course," he ordered. "Form up between Mars and Earth. We make our stand there." The fleet adjusted its path. 30 Earth ships against a Zalaxian armada of over 200 vessels. The odds were worse than terrible. "Sir," Jack Martinez said, "I've just received word from Earth. Lieutenant Maria Ortiz has a suggestion." Mitchell raised an eyebrow. "Put her through." The screen flickered and a young woman's face appeared. Lieutenant Ortiz was the tactical officer on Earth's lunar base. "Commander, we don't have to fight them head-on," she said without preamble. "The asteroid belt gives us an advantage." "I'm listening." "The Zalaxians move in perfect formation, right? Their ships are linked through their collective consciousness. What if we break up their formation? Force them to split into smaller groups that we can isolate and attack?" Mitchell considered this. "How?" "We place small teams throughout the asteroid belt," Ortiz explained. "Hit-and-run attacks to draw portions of their fleet away from the main group. We can also use the radiation fields around Jupiter to mask our ships." It was risky, but it made sense. Fighting the entire Zalaxian fleet at once would be suicide. But smaller groups? That might work. "Do it," Mitchell ordered. "Select your teams and coordinate with Fleet Command. I want this operation ready in 1 hour." 1 hour later, Earth's forces were in position. 10 small, fast ships had been sent deep into the asteroid belt. 5 more waited in Jupiter's radiation zone. The remaining 15, including Mitchell's Vanguard, formed a defensive line that appeared to be Earth's main defense. "Zalaxian fleet approaching," announced the sensor officer. "They'll be within visual range in 3 minutes." Mitchell felt an odd calm settle over him. This was it, the moment that would decide humanity's fate. "All ships maintain position," he ordered. "Wait for my signal." The first Zalaxian ships appeared on their view screens. They moved in a perfect V formation, each vessel exactly the same distance from the others. Their hulls glowed with strange, blue energy. In the center of the formation was a massive ship at least 5 times the size of the others. High Commander Krell's flagship. "They're sending a message, sir," Martinez reported. "Put it through." Krell's cold voice filled the bridge. "This is your final chance, humans. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Some of your species may be permitted to live as servants." Mitchell opened a channel. "This is Commander John Mitchell. Of Earth Defense Force, our answer remains the same. Humanity will not surrender. Then you will be exterminated," Krell replied simply. The communication cut off. The Zalaxian ships began to move forward in perfect unison. Then the first shots were fired. Energy beams lanced out from the alien vessels, striking Earth's defensive line. Several human ships took heavy damage immediately. Hold position, Mitchell ordered. Wait for it. The Zalaxian fleet advanced, continuing to fire. Earth ships returned fire, but their weapons seemed to have little effect against the alien shields. Sir, we're taking heavy losses, Martinez warned. Just a little longer, Mitchell said, watching the tactical display. The Zalaxian fleet was almost in perfect position. Now, launch Operation Scatter. At his command, the ships hidden in the asteroid belt sprang into action. They darted out from behind large rocks, fired quick bursts at the edges of the Zalaxian formation, then vanished again. The ships near Jupiter did the same, launching surprise attacks from within the radiation zone. The effect was immediate. The perfect Zalaxian formation wavered as ships broke away to pursue the attackers. It's working, Mitchell said. Their collective consciousness can't handle multiple threats from different directions. On the tactical display, the Zalaxian fleet was breaking apart. Small groups of ships veered off to chase Earth's fast attack vessels. The remaining force continued forward, but in a much less organized pattern. Lieutenant Ortiz's voice came through, the calm. The Zalaxians follow predictable patterns when they chase our ships. They always send exactly 3 vessels after each attacker, and they always take the most direct route. Perfect, Mitchell replied. Set the traps. Earth had prepared surprise attacks at key points in the asteroid belt. As the pursuing Zalaxian ships followed Earth's vessels along predictable paths, they ran into mines, ambushes, and hidden weapons platforms. We've taken out 12 enemy ships, Martinez reported with barely contained excitement. Their main fleet is down by 20%. But the remaining Zalaxian force was still overwhelming. They adjusted their tactics, becoming more cautious. Their ships began to reform into tighter groups. They're learning, Mitchell observed. Time for Phase 2. He opened a channel to Earth. Dr. Barnes, are you ready? The lunar base Helios device is charged and aimed, Barnes replied. But we only have enough power for one shot. Make it count, Mitchell said. Target their flagship. On Earth's moon, Dr. Barnes and his team made final adjustments to the massive Helios device they had installed in the Copernicus crater. It was much larger than the version on Mitchell's ship, powerful enough to affect a significant portion of the Zalaxian fleet. Powering up, Barnes announced. Targeting systems locked on their flagship. The device began to hum, blue energy crackling around its barrel. The lights in the lunar base dimmed as it drew massive amounts of power. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A brilliant blue beam shot from the lunar surface, crossing the void of space in seconds. It struck the Zalaxian flagship dead center. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then ripples of energy spread across the alien vessel and the ships nearby. Direct hit, Barnes exclaimed. Their shields are down. Mitchell didn't waste the opportunity. All ships target the flagship. Fire everything. Earth's remaining vessels concentrated their fire on the suddenly vulnerable Zalaxian command ship. Explosions bloomed across its surface as weapons found their mark. But the Zalaxians responded quickly. The flagship pulled back, surrounded by other vessels that moved to protect it. The ripple effect from the Helios device was already fading. They're regrouping, Martinez warned. And we've lost the element of surprise. High Commander Krell's voice came through again, now filled with rage. You dare to attack the flagship of the Zalaxian Empire? For this your world will burn. The Zalaxian fleet began a new maneuver. Ships arranged themselves into attack clusters, each focusing on a single Earth vessel. 3 human ships were destroyed in quick succession. Fall back, Mitchell ordered. All ships retreat to Earth's orbit. Earth's battered fleet began to withdraw. The Zalaxians followed, pressing their advantage. They think they've won, Mitchell said quietly. Haven't they? Martinez asked. We've hurt them, but not enough. Mitchell smiled grimly. Earth has one more surprise for them. As the human fleet retreated, the Zalaxians pushed forward, eager to finish the battle. They didn't notice the subtle changes in Earth's orbital defense platforms. Didn't realize that while the battle raged, the people of Earth had been busy. Get me President Summers, Mitchell requested. Her face appeared on screen, determined despite the strain visible in her eyes. Commander, report. We've bloodied their nose, Madam President. Now they're angry and coming straight for Earth. Exactly. As we hoped. Summers nodded. Earth is ready, Commander. Bring your ships home. Behind her, Mitchell could see the command center bustling with activity. On screens around her, images showed Earth's final defense taking shape. Yes, Madam President, Mitchell replied. We're coming home and bringing the Zalaxians with us. Earth's remaining ships limped into orbit around their home planet. Behind them, the Zalaxian fleet followed like predators closing in for the kill. The battle had taken its toll on both sides. Earth had lost nearly half its vessels. The Zalaxians had lost more ships than expected, but they still outnumbered the humans 5-1. All defense platforms online, reported Jack Martinez as the Vanguard took position above Earth. Lunar base standing by. Commander Mitchell looked at the blue planet below. Cities glowed in the areas facing night. He wondered how many people were looking up at the sky, aware that their fate would be decided in the next few hours. All ships take defensive positions, he ordered. Prepare for the final stand. The Zalaxian fleet approached, spreading out to surround Earth. Their formation was more cautious now, less perfect than before. The humans had proven themselves more dangerous than expected. Message from Director Carter, sir, Martinez said. Mitchell nodded. Put her through. Carter's face appeared on screen. She was in Earth's main defense control center. Commander, Dr. Barnes has modified all orbital platforms with scaled-down versions of the Helios device. We can't generate enough power for all of them at once, but we can fire them in sequence. That's good news, Mitchell replied. What about our special project? Carter's expression was grim but determined. Ready. Captain Miller has volunteered. To lead the mission? Mitchell nodded. He's the right choice. When do we launch? As soon as the Zalaxians commit to their final attack, we need them fully engaged with our main defenses. The communication ended. Mitchell turned to his crew. This is it, he said simply. Whatever happens next, know that you've done everything possible to protect our home. The Zalaxian ships moved closer. On the main screen, Mitchell could see their weapons powering up. Then High Commander Krell's voice filled the bridge one last time. Your resistance has been noted, humans. It will be studied. Future species will be approached differently because of you. But the outcome remains the same. Your world belongs to the Empire now. Mitchell didn't bother to respond. Instead, he opened a channel to all Earth forces. This is Commander Mitchell. Execute Operation Firestorm. Earth's orbital defense platforms came to life. The first group fired their Helios devices, creating ripples in space-time that washed over a section of the Zalaxian fleet. As those ships momentarily lost their shields, Earth's weapons struck with devastating effect. Before the Zalaxians could recover, another group of platforms fired, targeting a different section of the fleet. Then another, and another. Mitchell watched with grim satisfaction as confusion spread through the enemy ranks. The Zalaxians had never faced an enemy who could neutralize their shields. They began to fire back wildly, destroying several defense platforms but missing many more. It's working, Martinez said. They're breaking formation completely. Mitchell nodded. Send the signal to Captain Miller. Launch the Fireflies. From Earth's surface, 20 small ships rose into the sky. They were not military vessels but converted civilian shuttles. Each was piloted by a volunteer crew and carried a single, devastating weapon, a miniaturized Helios device connected to an antimatter warhead. Captain Frank Miller led the squadron from the front. His shuttle, nicknamed FireHFY 1, climbed quickly through the atmosphere. All Fireflies report in, he ordered. One by one, the other 19 pilots confirmed they were ready. All knew this was likely a one-way mission. Remember the plan, Frank said. We're too small to register as threats on their scanners. Use that to your advantage. Get close before they notice you. The small ships scattered, each heading toward a different Zalaxian vessel. Their target was not the entire fleet, but one ship in particular, High Commander Krell's flagship. On the Vanguard, Mitchell watched the small blips that represented Miller's squadron. They were nearly invisible among the chaos of the battle. "They're going to make it," he whispered. The Zalaxians continued their attack on Earth's main defenses, unaware of the true threat approaching. Their collective consciousness, disrupted by the Helios attacks, was struggling to coordinate their response. Frank's shuttle approached the massive Zalaxian flagship. It was enormous up close, at least 20 times the size of his tiny vessel. He could see damage from the earlier lunar base attack, but the ship was still very much operational. "This is FireHFY 1, he reported. "In position, all Fireflies confirm status." 18 other pilots responded. One was missing. "FireHFY 7 lost," someone reported. "They got spotted and taken out." Frank took a deep breath. "We stick to the plan. Form up around the flagship. Target their engine cores." The remaining shuttles moved into position, approaching the flagship from different angles. They were so close now that the Zalaxian point defense weapons began to fire at them. "They've spotted us," Frank said. "Execute attack run now." The 19 ships accelerated toward the flagship. Several were hit by defensive fire and destroyed before they could reach their target, but the rest kept going. Frank's shuttle reached the hull of the flagship. He aimed for a damaged section near what they believed was the main engine core. "For Earth," he said, and activated the Helios device. The effect was immediate. A ripple of energy spread across the section of hull in front of him, weakening the atomic bonds. Frank's shuttle smashed through the suddenly fragile barrier, carrying its antimatter warhead deep into the ship. Across the flagship, other FireHFY shuttles did the same, penetrating the massive vessel at different points. Inside, the pilots detonated their weapons. The explosions were contained at first, hidden within the vast bulk of the flagship. Then, as the antimatter reactions grew, bright light began to shine from within the Zalaxian vessel. The light grew, brighter and brighter, until suddenly, the flagship split apart in a massive explosion. On the Vanguard, Mitchell watched in awe as Krell's ship disintegrated. The shockwave spread outward, damaging nearby Zalaxian vessels. But the most dramatic effect wasn't physical. As the flagship was destroyed, something happened to the Zalaxian fleet. The remaining ships suddenly stopped in place. Some began to drift randomly. Others fired weapons in wrong directions. "Sir, what's happening?" Martinez asked. The collective consciousness, Mitchell realized. It must have been centered on the flagship. Without it, they can't coordinate. Earth's forces pressed the advantage immediately. Ships and defense platforms concentrated fire on the confused Zalaxian vessels. One by one, they were destroyed or disabled. Some Zalaxian ships managed to recover enough control to retreat. They turned and accelerated away from Earth, heading back toward the outer solar system. Mitchell opened a channel to all Earth forces. "Hold fire on the retreating ships," he ordered. "Let them go." "Sir?" Martinez questioned. Mitchell looked at him. "They need to carry the message back to their empire. Earth is not to be trifled with." As the remaining Zalaxian ships fled, Mitchell opened a general broadcast frequency. He knew the aliens would hear it. "This is Commander John Mitchell of Earth. The Empire demanded our submission. We have given our answer. This is humanity's fire. We fight for our freedom until the last breath. Remember this day. Remember what happened when you threatened Earth." Hours later, Mitchell stood in the Oval Office with President Summers, Director Carter, and the few surviving leaders of the defense effort. Dr. Barnes was there, looking exhausted but proud. Lieutenant Ortiz represented the tactical team, and on a screen the faces of colony leaders from Mars and beyond joined them. "We lost many good people today," President Summers said solemnly. "Captain Miller and his volunteers saved us all." "They will be remembered," Mitchell agreed. "And honored." "What happens now?" Dr. Barnes asked. "The Zalaxians will return, won't they? With a bigger fleet?" "Eventually," Director Carter admitted. "But not for a while. They've never experienced defeat like this before. They'll be cautious next time. And we'll be ready," Mitchell said. "We have their technology to study, their weapons and ships to examine. Next time, we won't be caught unprepared." President Summers walked to the window. Outside, people filled the streets of Washington. not in panic but in celebration. Word of the victory had spread quickly. "Today marks a new chapter for humanity," she said. "We've proven ourselves on the galactic stage. We've shown that we will not bow to tyrants, no matter how powerful they seem." She turned back to the room. "The Empire demanded our submission. Earth answered with fire, and that fire will light our way to the stars." Beyond the window, the night sky glittered with stars. Somewhere out there, the remnants of the Galaxian fleet rushed home, with news of their unprecedented defeat. And somewhere even further, the Empire waited, not yet knowing that they had awakened a sleeping giant, a species that would rather die fighting than live on its knees. Humanity had answered the Empire's demand with fire, and that fire would burn for generations to come.